The activity of spirits has long been recorded in the history of humans. Dating back thousands of years, there are countless records of societies recognizing the existence of spirits. The ghosts of the ancient Romans were referred to as shades of the dead, who were honored. In ancient Egypt, the return of a ghost was considered a very severe matter. Even today, there is large-scale recognition of life after death. Christianity, which 2.2 billion people claim to follow, recognize the existence of spirits. Islam, claiming the religious affiliation of another 1.7 billion people, also recognizes the existence of spirits after the life on this earth. Though all of these people recognize the existence of spirits, why is it so horrifying for them to imagine encountering a ghost in real life? Why is the notion of a ghost encounter made it to the modern day when there has not been a legitimate documented case of a ghost encounter? We believe it to be one of the ultimate fears of the human race, a being that cannot be killed due to its already deceased state, and not knowing whether it is real or the horror of our own imagination. Today, we are all attendees of Carroll College, and now a part of its own history. Carroll College was founded on September 27, 1909, by John Patrick Carroll, 2nd Bishop of the Diocese of Helena, Montana. It was originally called Mount St. Charles College to honor St. Charles Borromeo. It was founded as an all-men's liberal arts college with an emphasis on preparing men for priesthood. For a school with over 100 years of history, it does not come as a surprise that it has evolved a few ghost stories of its own.
When I first came to Carroll College, I was fascinated with the grand architecture and beautiful grounds. However, within this seemingly beautiful campus, a dark secret may be lurking. When I walked through the long, dark halls of St. Charles or visited the ancient St. Albert's, I had a feeling that something wasn't quite right. To my horror, it seems that my sense of something paranormal was not only plausible, but historically accurate. When we delved into the history of Carroll College, we found multiple accounts of hauntings and paranormal activity. Most of this was centered around St. Charles Hall. Among these horrific tales, one in particular has stood out, and that is the tale of a deceased student who died during his time here at Carroll in the 1960s. The young man was injured in the St. Charles 4th floor bathroom when he fell and hit his head against the sink. A week later, he unfortunately passed away from pneumonia. Soon after his death, terrifying tales began to emerge of students seeing his figure and face in the mirror of the bathroom when they were at the sink. He was easily identified by the long bleeding cut above his eye. However, the account stretched further than just sightings. Students reported screaming and loud noises coming from the bathroom, as well as slamming doors and footfalls that belonged to no one. With the levels of fear and hysteria increasing regarding the bathroom, many students begged for a priest to bless the room and end the activity. Finally, the school called for a priest to bless the room. Unfortunately, the activity continued, and the blessing was deemed unsuccessful. This led to the school to board up the bathroom for good. Over the years, scattered reports of all kinds of paranormal activity has been present here at Carroll, and it took us only a small amount of inquiring to find multiple eyewitnesses of bone-chilling hauntings. These are their stories.
So I'm Scott Gulliford, and I guess the first time on this campus that I really noticed weird things happening. I lived in St. Charles my sophomore year with my roommate Chris. We were on 3rd floor. Throughout that entire year, there was no really specific time. It just would always happen. In the middle of the night, our doors would just open randomly, kind of that slow, but all of a sudden it's open in the morning. We kind of just thought it was the other one playing a joke on us until...
Your closet doors?
Closet doors, dresser drawers,
Wow.
all that kind of stuff, and you kind of just got a weird vibe in the room where you could tell some spots were significantly colder because we had the 2 rooms set up.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
That was that, and that just kind of occurred all year, and then we kind of noticed we had our own things going on the weekends. One of us would be gone. Same stuff would still happen.
Weird.
And that was probably about it, and we didn't talk about it for a while.
Yeah, I can imagine, man.
It's kind of weird being in that. And then junior year, moved over here to Borromeo. Lived, in the basement with good friend Dempsey.
Yeah.
And we started noticing weird things all the time. You turn off the lights,
Mm-hmm.
you can see a thin white silhouette of a person in the corner of the room all the time.
What weird.
That was
Super
quite bizarre.
creepy.
And then we had a bunch of whiteboards always around our room.
Mm-hmm.
And we had them held up very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
Middle of the night, they would just fall off, and you hear the swoosh sound like they just went completely flat on the ground.
Yeah.
You wake up in the middle of the morning, and they'd be propped up standing, and neither one of us would pick them up in the middle of the night. This happened about once a week
That's super weird.
for an entire year.
Yeah. Anything else in that room?
Yeah, so another thing that was really, really weird, you have mirrors all over that room.
Right.
You have
yeah.
about three or four mirrors, I believe. One of the things, and this would happen mainly on the weekends,
Yeah.
we come back or wake up and there'd be handprints all over them. But it's hard to describe, but not handprints that were ours or anybody we knew, because we'd look and they look like a small child's handprints,
Oh, that's really
just
weird.
placed all over the
And you're
place.
sure you weren't touching it, or that nobody was touching that?
No, and then we would clean them,
To see if it happened again.
see if it happened again, and they'd be back the next morning. So that's kind of creepy. And then, actually, here in this room, in the nice rec room we have, over there where we sit, where all the couches are,
Mm.
you come down the hall in the middle of the night when everything's dark,
Mm.
and we have the little exit sign down at the end, so
Yeah.
there's a little bit of light,
Yeah.
and you'll see somebody sitting in the dark,
Yeah.
kind of just dark hair, really long dark hair, looks like a female, just sitting in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
But you come here and turn the lights on, no one's there.
That's so
Turn the lights
creepy.
back off and you leave for a bit, and someone's sitting there again.
What the heck?
Yeah,
That's
and
pretty
then
creepy, man.
what else? Let's see, I worked for St. Al's,
Mm-hmm.
so last year, I guess it would have been 2016,
Yeah.
2015. I was staying there late working on a project one night, and from what my understanding, there was a nun so many decades ago that ran off the top floor, jumped out the window,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
From stories I've heard around
Yeah.
the campus.
Yeah.
So went into my room to go do this project and work. So I shut the door, put in some headphones. It's a kind of older building, so you could hear when somebody walks a little harder than they should across those floors, and you could feel it.
Yeah.
So it's probably about 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. Most people there leave between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m., I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Not too many people stay that late on a Friday night.
Right. Right.
So I get there, and you could hear pitter-patter and just running across the top floor. I
Oh,
go to
wow.
open it.
Nobody.
Pitch black. No one is in that building besides me.
That's super creepy.
Probably the creepiest thing I've dealt with.
Yeah.
Even after our interview with Mr. Scott Gilliford, the accounts continued to increase. Next, two ladies will give their haunting story of what happened to them during their time at Carroll College.
Hi, my name's Maddie Hutmaker. I'm a senior and I'm a psychology major.
I'm Katie Moriarty. I'm also a senior and I'm studying international relations. When we were roommates in Charlie's, we had a paranormal encounter in what was then called Old North. It's now the chapel. And we were walking through Old North because it was cold out to get to a party, and we had been drinking. And we walked past the locker area. There were these orange lockers against the wall. And
Well, I don't know, for some reason I just felt this urge to climb inside of a locker, which is interesting because I don't like small spaces. And so the locker shut very easily, and then all of a sudden I was like very stuck in there. And then I couldn't get out, and Katie proceeded to help me get out.
she was like
Of
starting
course.
to, she was laughing at first in there, and then she started to have like a panic attack because she couldn't get out. And so I was pulling on the locker trying to open it to get her out, and it wasn't opening for like a good chunk of time, and I was pulling as hard as I could. And pretty much it was like there were all these people there like laughing at the situation, like making around me, like laughing at her in the locker and also at me trying to get her out. And I was pulling as hard as I could and pulling as hard as I could, and I eventually like broke the locker off. and like used all my force, so I slammed back against the cement wall in the back, and it like knocked the wind out of me. And then all of a sudden, like in that moment, everyone else was gone, and yeah, they were gone. And I was told, Maddie, what did they say to you when you got out of the locker?
She just said that there was like people surrounding her laughing, and she was like wondering who the people were, like how they got there, where they went, and I was like, there was nobody there at all ever.
Yeah.
It was just the two of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys were alone the entire time?
Yes.
Yeah. Well.
And you
Maybe.
felt like there was people around you and there was nobody.
Yeah, like there was like a crowd of people laughing. They just thought it was really funny. It wasn't like evil. It was just like
Entertainment.
yeah,
Did you
like they
know-
were entertained.
Did you know who these people were, or were like just people
No,
you've never seen?
no. Like I didn't feel like it was a bunch of strangers because I didn't like think about it in the moment. Like it was people like maybe that had a familiar feeling, honestly, but like definitely no one that I knew.
Yeah.
Weird.
And it was like a non-threatening thing. It was
Mhm.
just onlookers.
But like kind of taken too far.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have now heard two stories that have happened in St. Charles and Borromeo Hall. Now, you will hear an account that happened in Guadalupe Hall.
I'm Jimmy Arnold. I'm a public health major here at Carroll, and I'm a junior. So what kind of happened to me, my involvement kind of with the spirits, I guess, stems from Guadalupe Hall my freshman year. This comes from stories, or kind of a story from my roommate, actually. He actually woke up, so I want to say 2 in the morning, kind of had some sleep paralysis going on. And he noticed I was chanting in my sleep some nonsense. Doesn't quite know exactly what it was about. And he sees kind of like I want to say shadow near the end of my bed that proceeded to move from the end of my bed when I stopped chanting to his bed, and the person he was with actually started chanting that same kind of nonsense after I was done. And so, being that it was 2 a.m., and seeing kind of that event happen for him kind of startled him enough to actually seek the help of Father Mark to kind of get a room blessed, because personally, if I was in that situation awake, it would have freaked me out just as much as it did him, especially if it traveled from me, nonsense chanting to our other roommate.
The next paranormal encounter happened nearly a year later in the same building of Guadalupe Hall.
I'm Marissa. I'm a senior political science major. We had an experience in Guad. There was my roommate and I were sitting in the room. I was studying at my desk, and our desks were side by side, and she was sitting on the bed behind us, and I was doing work. I had earphones in, and then all of a sudden, her desk moved a little bit, and I just thought she threw something at her desk, like a book or something. And then I turned back around, and then all of a sudden a book flew off her shelf and landed on the chair, and then slid off the chair. And I looked back because I thought she threw it, and she just looked at me, and she was super scared, and we had no idea what was going on.
A person skeptical of these events could claim that these stories are from college students that are young and potentially naive. However, these strange events are not limited to just students at this school.
All right. Okay, so my name's David Rotness. I've been working here at Carroll since the fall of 1988. So what's that, almost 29 years now?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Quite a long time, yeah. But, yeah, so we're talking ghost stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I first started working here, I was a custodian up in St. Charles, and it was the middle of summer, and me and the rest of the crew were prepping all of the hallway floors for stripping of wax. And one day, my coworkers were all down on 3rd Main, and I was up on 4th Main in Charlie's.
Yeah.
And there used to be a rec room right in the center that encompassed, right now it encompasses, I think, three 3 dorm rooms.
Okay.
But it used to be a big rec room, and so it was late afternoon, sun's to the west, and I'm sitting in the room facing east into the hallway, and I'm using this floor stripper in the doorways, so that machine can't get in there and get into the corners. So I've got this wax stripper and a spray can, and I'm spraying it into the little corners, and using a razor knife to clean the old wax out. And so it's late afternoon, like I said, so the sun's to the west of the building, and my shadow is leaving from behind me out into the hallway in front of me. And all of a sudden I'm busy scraping in the corner, and a shadow, and it was a human figure. The human shadow came, and it was right in my work. But it was weird because I didn't think anything of it. My shadow was coming from the west to the east into the hall, but this shadow was coming from the hallway towards the west.
Okay.
So I'm scraping away, and this shadow comes and blocks my view, starts to block the lighting, and I said, "Hey man, you're in my light," and he started laughing, and nobody responded, and I looked up and there was nobody there. Absolutely nothing.
Throughout these encounters, the horror that occurs in the subjective experience of the viewer. Those who have seen unexplainable things do not know if it is within their own minds or it is actually occurring in the physical environment. Like Todorov's Fantastic, the viewer does not know what is actually happening. This hesitation about what is real and what is fake shapes our views of the world. So ask yourself, is Carroll College haunted?